Hey, I'm Jake Johnson, host of the podcast We're Here to Help. But this episode right now that you are listening to is sponsored by Brooklinen. Brooklinen provides luxury bed sheets, pillows, comforters, and blankets delivered straight to your door. How do I know this? Because Brooklinen delivered me a quilt, sheets, pillowcases, and I love them. Plus, Brooklinen has been tested and awarded by experts, including Good Housekeeping, GQ, Wirecutter, and the hosts of We're Here to Help. So listeners can save a ton by purchasing a hardcore bundle, which includes a core sheet set, which is the thing I got, extra pillowcases, and a duvet cover. You can also mix and match. They do this stripe thing that's cool, but that's a dealer's choice. So are you ready to build your dream fall bed? Visit in-store or online at brooklinen.com. That's brooklinen.com, BROOKLINEN.com. Get 15% off your first Brooklinen order and save extra when you bundle.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the Laser Eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. But because it's that special time of the month, we get to shout out our You Can Get It level sponsors, and they are Jennifer, Heather, the Viking Paratrooper, Kathy, Nikki, Knitting Menace, Samantha, Trevor, Renee, Billy, Caitlin, Edward, Dharma, Grace, Bryce, Sean, Shayna, Ollie, Dr. Voorhees, MD, Liza, Becca, AJ, Radioactive Spider Gwen, Irene, Naomi, Bex, Laura Lubu, Cameron, Kaylee, Jackie, Alyssa, Mushroom Snail Fox, and Unintentionally Badass, aka Jennifer. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we will be taking Scat daily.
My voice got better and then got bad again, but not as bad.
You sound great, honestly.
This is the best I've sounded. It was not great when I had to roast battle half deaf, though. When I got up on stage, I was like, this is a big problem. But I can't wait to see the video and watch me trying desperately to hear.
I honestly think it also would have been kind of great if you would just been the whole time oh, I'm sorry, are you talking to me? Sorry, I missed that whole thing.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, the listeners made us watch
The Faculty.
Paige, I'm assuming you saw this movie when you were a child.
No, I saw this in college, I think.
Okay.
Is when I saw it.
That would have been probably 10 years after it came out then, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because remember, I am younger than you and young enough that I kind of miss a lot of 90s horror because I was a child-ass child when it was happening, being raised in a house that didn't watch horror. So it's really not the horror genre, of decades of horror. It's not my fave, and it's one that I have mostly, like, I've gone back and watched most of it, but I generally prefer 80s or more recent, or 70s even, but yeah, so I didn't see this until college. I did not see this till I was like probably 21 or 2.
Paige, this shouldn't surprise you, but I missed this too at the time.
Sure.
I did watch it for the show, and I truly love that my brain is terrible at remembering things.
Yeah, did you just completely delete it from last time?
Yes, Paige. Holy shit.
I wondered that, actually.
Yeah, no, I have no memory of that episode. I have no memory of watching the movie that time. I mean, so I remembered, I almost said Scarlett Johansson, but that is not her name.
That is not who is in this. Nope, Famke Janssen is who you're thinking of.
Famke Janssen? I'm trying to say it like Mikey said.
Famke Janssen.
Famke Janssen. I remember Famke Janssen picking up her octopus head.
Right.
About to put it back on herself. So I remembered some of the things, and that was it.
Yeah, I always remember like the bleachers at the end.
Yes, because that's a cool set piece.
Yeah, I was surprised how much of this movie had been deleted from my brain.
Yeah.
And I've seen this movie at least a dozen or more times. Like, it's on TV constantly. Like, I have seen this movie a lot. And then when I was watching it today, I was like, man, you could cut the TV cut of this and it actually plays better from a pacing standpoint, cutting at least 15 to 20 minutes out of it.
I mean, it is a long movie, man.
It is a long movie for what it is, I should say. Like, a movie like this should be 90 minutes flat.
Yeah, and I'll say that about most like high school movies, whether they're horror or rom-coms.
Sure.
I feel like, or like Superbad type party movies or whatever.
Right.
90 to 100 minutes, that's your sweet spot for me, right?
Right.
Outside of that, it's probably not going to hold me as long.
Well, and because I was kind of watching it because I was surprised it wasn't 90 minutes because I never felt like this was too long, but I think I was watching it on TV a lot.
Probably.
And then in watching it this time, I was like, oh, there's a whole lot of like slow-mo and songs and cut it all. Good Lord.
And I will be honest with you, this soundtrack, like the music from the time period.
The soundtrack slaps.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, the music from the time period, I'm kind of into, right? But, man, I don't remember. I'm so worried that people are going to go back and like critique me on episode 71 back in 2019 when we did this episode.
71. Wow, you guys waited. Why did I think you guys did this earlier than that?
It actually came out September 16th, 2019, which means
Wild.
We're recording this just 3 days after that, of course, in 2024.
I have a theory.
And that is, it's back to school season, and it just kind of makes sense that,
yes, the Jen's kids went back to school, and she was like, I've been watching the faculty.
So yeah, we are recording this, what is that? Oh my God, 5 years.
5 years later, damn.
Yeah, it's 5 years and 3 days after we released that last faculty episode, which means I have no idea what I said, and please, I may have a very different take on this movie.
And life in general.
Oh yeah, Todd grown a lot in that time, and also very recently started referring to himself in the third person like Bob Dole, and that's a habit I gotta break.
Do it.
Do it. I loved this movie today. I love that the drug that he puts in pens for no reason, because you can clearly see that pen is filled with a cocaine-like looking substance people are snorting.
Sure.
Like, you would get busted immediately. Also, it's just caffeine pills, baby. Calm down. Like, that reminded me of the time I mistakenly sold oregano to a middle school kid. Like, that is like very much what he's doing this whole time. And he failed a year, I think, to bang his math teacher or whatever Famke Janssen is.
Okay, let's fucking talk about it.
Right?
Because there is clearly an undertone of like he stuck around. It's still bad. It's still not great. She was his teacher. I don't care if he's 18. There is a power dynamic that is a problem. And they are clearly in some sort of unrequited thing.
At the end of this movie, it's requited.
It's requited, and he's still a student.
Like, he is playing on the high school football team, fucking his teacher clearly.
Oh,
she
God.
is dressed like a trad wife. He has bedded that down so successfully. She's like, I'm never leaving.
Oh my
I
God.
hope I'm pregnant. Like, that's how this movie ends. And I'll say, and this is a weird take, it made sense to me. Because this whole movie, I think Josh Hartnett is a god. I don't think he's a person. I think he is a god.
I mean, this is not your first time having some sort of someone is a god within a movie.
No, it's not.
Here's the thing.
And I love it.
I'm not going to argue with you because he knows too fucking much. Like,
he knows literally everything. He's like a Mary Sue, which drives me crazy. Oh, well, I probably should explain that.
Yes.
A Mary Sue is someone who can just do anything for no reason in a movie, right?
anything they need to do within the story as the story needs it.
And they want me to believe that he failed his senior year last year and is now in his 5th year of high school, right?
Yes.
But he knows everything. He's so smart.
No, here was my secondary theory.
I'm sorry, it's not going to be better than he's a god, right?
No.
There's no way.
My main theory is that there is an inappropriate relationship happening between him and a teacher that has a power dynamic that is problematic regardless of his age. I think the reason the movie puts the whole failed as a senior thing in is because of his age, and they're like, see, he's 18. That doesn't fucking make it better. It doesn't help it.
It was the 90s, Paige. I'm surprised they even went as far to say, no,
I know.
He's definitely 18, probably 19.
Instead of just like high-fiving him in the hallway.
I know.
Here's my secondary theory. He shops the school chem lab to make drugs. If he failed, he still had access to free supply.
Okay, but he's just crushing up caffeine pills in a medicine ball and pouring it into Bic pens. So, like, it's not like he's doing much.
Well, except that he has that whole lab at home that I think he's slowly been stealing. But again, you could steal from other places. Like, it's not great. The only rational one is that he's stuck around for that teacher, and it's really upsetting.
Sorry, yeah, we're going to just agree to disagree because that mofo is a god. Like, I don't care about anything in this movie because it's so like wildly premised and so, honestly, it's fun and it's silly. It's a little campy and I'm into it, man. I'm into it.
I will say it does not hold up great for rewatches. That's my one frustration.
Here's what is great about having a dumb brain though, Paige.
Because you just forget.
Technically, it was a rewatch and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next?
I was like rewatching it and I was like, oh man, I really don't remember that much of the movie. And then she pops up and she's like, hi, I'm here from Atlanta. I was like, oh, right, she's the alien.
Oh, I knew it was her from Jump Street too, but like, I wanted to see how we'd get there.
But here's the thing. We don't get there in a very fun way. There's only 1 or 2 times where we even suspect her. And I'm like, you could have played a lot more with this and you don't. And so I'm kind of like, once you know it's her, I'm like, it's her. Yeah, we'll sit through it, I guess.
I cannot believe in a movie where the high school caffeine crushed up drug of choice is called Scat.
Oh, I hated that. I was like, Scat?
And you said we didn't get there in a fun way? Are you crazy? They literally say in the first 3 minutes that this drug that people snort that looks just like cocaine is called shit.
Yeah, shit. You on that shit?
So funny.
Here's the part that I feel like needs the most trimming.
Don't say Josh Hartnett's hair, because it's perfect.
I mean, no.
Don't trim it. Do not.
First of all, they should have stopped trimming it about 10 minutes before they did, because it looks fucking awful. That's one of the worst haircuts that's been on a human person or a dog. It's bad.
You know what, though? I knew girls that, like, specifically thought he was hot in this movie.
Oh, I know.
And,
I know. I don't understand. I mean, I understand him being hot in general. He's an objectively hot human, but like...
I've seen 30 Days a Night. I get the appeal.
Oh, God, yeah. 30 Days a Night.
I get it.
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett is like one of the actors that like, I don't understand why they're not more famous. And he's already pretty famous. But like, he's great.
I mean, I think he's having a resurgence, and I'm here for that. I'm very excited for that.
But he never hit like the leading man status, I thought. I mean, after like movies like this, I thought he'd get up to.
I mean, he gets like Lucky Number 11 and a few that people are like, oh shit, yeah, Josh Hartnett, underrated badass.
He is.
And I think now he's getting like, I think we're about to have a Josh Hartnett wave, and I'm here for it.
Oh, you mean the Josh Renaissance? I'm so sorry I said that, but I could not help myself.
Yeah.
I'm coining it the Josh Renaissance.
No, okay, here's the trimming that I need.
Okay.
The section of the movie, because we as the audience are seeing the faculty get turned, we have an idea of what's going on, and then we spend a whole lot of time with Elijah Wood being like, no, nobody's listening to me, this is the, and like going back to school, and then at school, they're there for like a whole day before anything really pops off, and then they stab Jon Stewart in the face, and you're like, oh shit, it is aliens, and now we have slightly of an idea of what can kill them, and we're going to take actions from there. That is a murky sinkhole in the middle of this movie of nothingness that needs to go away, so we get to them doing what is essentially the thing test faster.
Well, you got to reveal that it's aliens before you can get there. Like, you may have to get there faster.
But we do. That's what I'm saying.
You may have to get there faster. I agree. But I think you need that scene with I almost said Steve Martin. Good God. With Jon Stewart.
You keep Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
That's not the part you cut.
Okay.
The parts you cut are on either side.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
it's like 20 minutes to get to Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And then from Jon Stewart, it's like that whole them getting to the parking lot, to the house, to the whatever, takes so fucking long. And then at the house, there's like another 10 minutes of like, we kind of know what it is and what happens, but we're still revamping it.
I don't know what I would cut out of that section, especially when they're leaving the classroom and they're really doing a good job with just camera and they're showing like the world is cluing into your weirdness. And it's because I do think on some level, yes, this is Invasions of the Body Snatchers.
Yep.
Yes, this is an allegory of, do we conform and grow up, or do we stay unique in who we are? And like, I actually sort of like love I'll say themes they're playing with. I don't know that they stick the landing.
I say they mishandle them.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
They do not handle those themes well, no.
I think it was the 90s, and like, listen.
Sure, it's the 90s.
There are worse ones out there, but
absolutely,
they were trying.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so like, I dig sort of a lot of that kind of stuff, but like, oh man, the premise is just silly. It feels fun to me at this point. I think I may have been scared by some things when I watched them the first time.
Sure.
But I remembered all of those things this time. Like, those are the things that actually stuck with me and I remembered. So like, and honestly, I think some of the grosser stuff in this movie is like the shower scene with the old lady and the hair.
Oh, yes. The degloving her scalp. Yeah.
Just coming. I remembered that. And I watched it, but I like prepared myself for it and I was okay. And like the fact that more or less nobody dies. I think the principal technically dies, but everyone's sort of back at the end, except for the principal. I don't think you see the principal at the end.
Principal dies. Jon Stewart dies.
Yeah. He got stabbed in the eye. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
He also landed the Daily Show and just became a different type of entertainer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just gone.
Which, like, I love Jon Stewart. Great. Good for him. Yeah.
Sure. I would say there are a bunch of different versions of this kind of movie, right?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is one of them.
Sure. Night of the Creeps, I think, is a way more fun, 90-minute, tight, perfect, wonderful version of this.
I think that Night of the Creeps is the better college 80s version of this.
Yes, it is college. It is college, and it is 80s.
Yes.
And I'm sure that this movie is pulling from that. There is a movie that we have not done yet that I have not watched in like 15 years. It may not hold up.
Paige, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
No.
We haven't done that one.
We have not done that one. We should. There's multiple versions.
Sure.
We tried to do it once, and I can't remember why
I think we had trouble finding it streaming. I remember that conversation, but I don't remember why we couldn't. But it was we couldn't, not we didn't want to.
Right. But we have not done one of James Gunn's early films, Slither, which is a very similar concept, but it's a small town instead of a high school.
I have a very good friend who thought the poster for Slither was sexy.
Oh, because it's the bath. Isn't it the bathtub?
I'm pretty sure, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure because my friend that I'm thinking of is super into blondes. I think it's a blonde in a bathtub shot from behind, and the things are slithering towards it.
Yes, it's a leg. There's two. There's one with a blonde in a bathtub, and they're all slithering into the bathtub. There's one shot from like as if you were looking into the bathtub from a voyeuristic point of view, where it's just a lady's leg.
Yeah.
And they're slithering into it.
Yeah.
But Slither's got some wild body horror, but it definitely skews more Night of the Creeps. And I feel like this definitely tries to go kind of more serious.
It is, I think, a little too serious for how campy the premise is.
Yes.
But I'm here for the camp, and I love that. So
well, and that's what I want. I'm like, either be goofier.
Night of the Creeps.
Yeah.
Be Night of the Creeps. I haven't seen Slither, or, be in that lane.
Slither is also goofy. Yeah.
Yeah. So be in that lane, or I don't know.
Or go full thing with it.
Sure.
Like those are your options, right?
If you had done a high school thing, which I think you could argue this is sort of similar premise, that would be a cool ass movie though.
Sure. You could do a high school thing. That could be a fucking rad movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like this gets close. Again, it's not a bad movie. It's just like,
no, I genuinely enjoy it.
it straddles a weird line. It maybe needed a tighter edit, and god damn it, that haircut on Josh Hartnett.
I think that is like, is it Melissa Joan Hart or whoever's in, well, it's like every rom-com from the 90s. It was like, put her in ponytail and glasses, and then halfway through the movie, we'll pretty her up or whatever.
It's Rachel Lee Cook and She's All That is the one that everyone makes fun of.
Well, they did it with like a bunch of different ladies around that time.
They did, but hers is specifically the ponytail and glasses.
Yes, yeah.
Like
so like,
that, yeah.
I feel like that is sort of like how in this movie they were like, okay, we have 6'1" Josh Hartnett up against literal Frodo Baggins. So
Poor Frodo.
fuck his hair up so it like levels the playing field, guys.
Oh, yeah. I had forgotten Elijah Wood was in this and just shouted Frodo in my office. I was just like, Frodo! It's great. I love that he as an adult has just done fucked up horror movies for the last like 5 years.
You know what makes me happy is I feel like, and I don't know what his career trajectory was as far as like when he did what movie, but this is early in his career.
This is early, yeah.
And this is a not hard, but it is an R horror movie.
Yeah.
Which, why?
I think undeservedly. I think this
Why?
could be PG-13, yeah.
That's so crazy. I mean, I know why. It's the nudity at the end that's like...
The MPAA is fucked up.
Well, and that too. Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess, yeah, there is nudity.
But Paige, it's all shot in shadow, and it's like...
It's all, yeah, it's not...
Whatever.
Yeah, this should be a PG-13.
Whatever. I get it. But he, like, I think made a shitload of money from the Lord of the Rings stuff, and good for him, and then has sort of arced back towards horror again. And I wonder if it's because...
He really enjoys it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if it's because like,
Yeah.
he did this movie and maybe other ones. I don't know.
He's done a handful.
Sure,
Yeah.
but was like, man, I really missed making horror movies because it was fun. And now he's like arcing back that direction. I don't know that that's true, but that would be cool.
No, that is true because he's done interviews about it where
Oh, yeah?
he basically, he's like, Lord of the Rings made him more money than he could probably ever spend in his lifetime. So he not only is largely working in small horror movies because that's what he likes, he's also funding and producing small horror movies. And honestly, you fucking love to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I have all the love in the world for Elijah Wood for what he has done in the horror community. 100%.
Yeah.
Fully support.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think that Daniel Radcliffe is doing sort of similar things, but a little different career trajectory. But he made so much money from Harry Potter. He's just like, I'll just do whatever the fuck I want. Thank you so much.
I love it.
Me too.
And can I tell you, I love his career trajectory post Harry Potter so much. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, you want to screw guns to my hands? Let's fucking go. You want me to be a farting corpse to a crazy soundtrack? Let's go. Like, yes, Daniel Radcliffe, I'll let you do you want to be the villain in that wild Sandra Bullock movie? Let's fucking go.
The Lost City of D, Paige. The Lost City.
The
That
Lost
movie,
City of
oh
D.
man. And that episode, guys, check it out. It's a delight. I'll also say this. Dude went full frontal on the stage in a play called Equus. And like,
Oh yeah, Equus.
that's, no pun intended, that's fucking ballsy, man. Like, good for him. And like, I think like he and Elijah Wood, I think have the coolest careers because
Yes.
they made a lot of money young and then just sort of like, hey, thank you so much, studio system, for all you made me. Fuck off now. I am going to do my own shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever like shit on what they've done and probably shouldn't within reason.
I mean, I think a similar version, although done kind of differently, I was just having a conversation about this with a friend the other day, is Ethan Hawke, who
Yeah.
made a ton of money in the studio system, but then literally just funnels that money back into the indie world. And he's been on a real weird kick of making multiple historical biopics, but like, hey, whatever, man. Like,
Man, the Black Phone or whatever it was, that horror movie.
Black Phone was studio system. I mean, he funded a lot of it, but that was just a regular studio movie. And then he took the money from that and made a bunch of other weird shit. Like, I appreciate it.
Me too. I think Ethan Hawke's probably a weird dude, and I don't know that I'd like hanging out with him. But
So through this conversation with my friend, I found out that everyone who works with him fucking loves him and he's been super nice to them.
I think that he's too artistic for me, honestly. Like, I think that
I mean, yeah, sure.
he would be talking to me and I'd be like, wow, okay. Your brain works in amazing ways and I'm just not there. Ethan, it was nice to meet you and I love a lot of the shit that you create, but I'm going to step away now because I'm going to embarrass myself in your presence.
So according to the people I was talking to, they were like, he's the nicest guy ever. He tips well. He would give you the shirt off his back. back. He's cool as shit.
That's cool as shit. That honestly doesn't surprise me.
Which I was like, thank goodness. That makes me feel really good.
That's the vibe I've always gotten from him when I see him in interviews. But like, you never know, especially with like people who act. Like they can put on a performance in an interview too, you know? So like, I don't know. So that's good to hear. Paige, do you think Josh Hartnett could play a Bond character? Oh, wait. Do you think Josh Hartnett could be Bond?
No.
Well, I already fucked a Bond girl in this movie, Paige. Like,
I know he did. I'm prepared to back up my assertion.
that he's God, Paige?
No. I, as opposed to Bond, would like him in something a little grittier like a John Wick. I think he's got more gravitas towards that kind of a performance as opposed to Bond, who is cool, but is very staid and stoic, especially because they don't really do funny Bonds anymore. It's a very straight-laced character.
That's true. You're right.
And I think Josh Hartnett has a lot to offer in this kind of, it's almost like you don't know if you should trust him or not ever. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it plays really well on stage, but like...
No, I know what you mean, Paige. You mean it like in an exciting way.
Yes, I do mean it that way.
Like, I don't know if he'll fuck me better than I've ever been fucked or choke me to death, but either way, I'm here for the ride.
And emotionlessly choke me to death and then walk out of the room with a silencer. Like, that is who he plays on... I'm sure he's a nice guy in person, but like, that's what he plays on screen.
Yeah, he sounds great, Paige.
But like, I don't know that that's the right vibe for a Bond. Whereas when we were talking about like Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think it was actually on Romancing the Pod. Yes.
It was, because we just did The Fall Guy, and he's the bad guy in that.
The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
He is potentially one of the people they're considering for Bond, and I think he would actually be a really interesting choice.
He's actually British.
He is British. My personal pick for Bond that they're never going to do, but I think it would be really interesting, is John Boyega, because I think John Boyega would fucking crush that shit.
Yeah, I mean, he would. He would be great.
And it would be fucking incredible.
Also actually British.
But yeah, I feel like either one of them could bring more of that gravitas. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is a more sarcastic, punchy Bond. I think John Boyega is a more Craig-like, stoic Bond, but with a different vibe. And I'm here for all of that. I know we just got derailed in the middle of this episode, but I have opinions about Bond, and those are them.
Well, you like Bond a lot. You're like a Bond girl.
I like Bond a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a Bond girl.
Yeah.
I like Famke Janssen. She's one of my faves.
She was great. Anya Onatop, or whatever her name was.
Xenia Onatop.
There you go. Paige, you know how I know that Stan was an idiot?
How? Tell me.
He wanted to actually learn.
I know.
And like go to college. And so he decided to quit the one thing that would guarantee he could go to school
go to college
for free. And like, bro, you decide the level of effort you put into your schooling. Like,
sure.
Go to college for free, you idiot. Like, that's why this movie's so silly to me. Like, some of these premises are like, I get that you're playing on the like jock trope.
Sure.
And like the nerd ends up with the pretty girl or whatever at the end.
Sure.
But like, this is silly.
I mean... Here's what I'll say.
Say it, Paige.
Poor Stan might not be smart enough to realize the whole of what you just said, at least as depicted in the film.
That's what I'm saying. He's an idiot.
Yeah, I do think the whole reason they have that is to give him a piece of vulnerability with Stokely.
Oh, yeah, but he's real dumb. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's real dumb.
And I also think that Stokely's crush on him is nonsense and a very strange plot point in the film that does not really translate for me. And I think that, hey, maybe that's just because I know Clea Duvall would not have been into this, but...
She's an actress. She did a great job. I'm not saying it wasn't convincing on the screen.
She does a great job. She's not doing a bad job.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Why couldn't she just have been a lesbian?
Thank
that
you.
would have been fine. But also, Paige, I'm not excusing it this way, but in 98, that would have been a sort of a big deal, which is stupid.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
things have changed for the better in that regard. Because nowadays, she probably would just have been a lesbian. Like, that wouldn't have been a big deal.
I mean, when I was in high school from 2002 to 2006, people wouldn't come out. Like, it was
Same.
social suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like...
I lived in the South.
Yeah.
There are people I know that didn't come out until after college.
Oh, yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of people I went to school with now are out now because now they feel like it's acceptable, like that people wouldn't target them and be cruel. And it still happens. It's still cruel in some cases. But yeah, that was one that like, I always forget that part of the movie. That is one of the plot points I fully just, my brain deletes it and replaces it with the whole of, but I'm a cheerleader. And so like... I'm watching this movie and they're like, yeah, violent lesbian. I was like, she doesn't seem that violent to me.
But the other thing, though...
well, yeah. She's like, she's got a crush on Stan. I was like, I don't think so. Like, I think that's the aliens talking, perhaps.
I honestly think her and... I mean, it does turn out to be the actual alien, but they like had a little bit of chemistry.
I honestly thought, like, and I was trying to remember. I was like, I didn't remember there being a lesbian relationship in this.
And you were right, there wasn't.
And then she's with Josh Hartnett, and I was like, oh yeah, no, of course, this is 1998. But that makes way more sense to me personally. But whatever, it's fine. We'll always have. But I'm a cheerleader, which add space worms to it. Now you got to hit.
I'd watch it. But Paige, maybe we should go through this version of that movie.
Let's do it.
Scene by scene.
We open on football with Robert Patrick just a few years after T2, and damn, I'm just saying. And it's not just because he's evil. It's probably a little bit because he's evil.
Paige, the second I saw him, I knew you'd let him ruin your whole life. I knew it because he's a big, shouldery man yelling. I knew it.
My entire life. And yeah.
You would let him ruin your entire life.
Oh, yeah. No, he'd come up to me in a bar and be like, have you seen this boy? And I'd be like, and then I'd melt into liquid metal, like confusing everybody.
He is just yelling at his football team, what sounds incoherent. And I'm not like a sports guy, but I know enough about sports to know like some of the stuff he's saying is gibberish. Like, I don't think they're trying all that hard. And honestly, it makes me like him more, but he is just yelling at children.
Yeah, they're children, and most of this is meaningless.
Yes. But he does say, if you play like this, consider yourselves dead Friday night. Dead! And I was like, hello, foreshadowing.
Ooh.
Yes.
But also, he says, get focused or get the fuck off my team. And then he flips a whole bench full of Gatorade thingies. The big, like, cooler dispenser ones.
Yeah, so do you think that's because he was already an alien and needed water, or
no,
because he was angry? I don't know.
No, because he's, like, stomping out the sprinkler and whatever.
He is, yeah.
After, because he broke a sprinkler. But then somebody comes up to him and is like, what? What can I help you? Like, who the hell are you?
He says, yeah, what?
Yeah, what? And he's like, don't waste my time or you'll be running laps till sunrise. And he's like, and he turns and looks and he's like, can I help you? Clearly someone he does not know.
Yeah.
And we don't see the reverse of that. It's clearly Mary Beth.
It's got to be Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson from Atlanta.
Yeah. And I think he's like, pretty girl I've never seen. And that's when she gets him.
She just spit right in his face.
Yeah.
Or ear. I guess it goes in their ear in this one. Yeah.
It goes in their ear. But we cut to a really depressing staff meeting. And boy, are our schools underfunded.
I did sort of love the honesty from the principal, though.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, you can't do this thing that honestly probably would benefit students. We can't afford it. And then she does that same sort of talk to like 4 teachers. And they do, I think, a really good job of establishing where they are, because she's like, you can't take a field trip to New York City. And the teacher's like, well, I don't think you understand. He's like, I don't think you understand or whatever. And then she's like,
big Freddy fat person.
He does sort of sound like, anyway, so he's like saying that, and she's like, well, you have to stay within Ohio. So it like does a good job of like saying that this is Ohio. And then honestly, I knew at that moment, literally anything could happen because this is Ohio.
I mean, wild stories coming out of Ohio right now. Wild falsehoods coming out of Ohio. But what if Ohio had its own god in the form of Josh Hartnett?
Paige, I have a cue drop I'd like you to read.
Okay, all right.
And it's just the bad haircut will lead them. I'm not saying it's a prophecy, but it's Josh Hartnett as a god in this movie. He knows how to do everything. I think, holy shit, this bit is going to save me so much money on my taxes. So guys.
No, we're not starting a church.
No, Paige, we don't have an option at this point. Josh Hartnett is a god.
No.
And I think we have to celebrate and spread the message. How else could he have done all of this?
There's literally no way.
He has to be he has to be.
We should talk to him about this first, because I also, under like godlike abilities, would like to file that whole getting her off with a feather thing from 40 Days and 40 Nights, because that also, miracle. Not humanly possible.
I have not seen that movie, although Mikey threatened to make us watch it all the time, but we never did.
We'll do it eventually.
Probably. I also think, and this is not proof that my God theory is accurate, however, it is compelling evidence, but I think at the end of the movie, he takes himself out of the equation because he wants to know if man will fight for themselves And he does. And so, like, I think that's why he doesn't help at the end. He's, like, testing us. Guys, comment and let me know if you think Josh Hartnett is a god in this movie. Because he is, and I'll take no rebuttals. Thank you so much.
I mean, we'll get into it in just a second, but anytime anyone's like, I think it's a this, he's like, actually, it's a this apraxis, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? What?
Bro, there's no way he would know, like, the scientific name for bugs. Like, this dude failed last year. What?
Again, purposely failed. I think he purposely failed.
I think you're denying the actual evidence, Paige.
It was one of those things where it's like A, and then the final, he's just like not answering questions.
I don't know, man. I think a lot of people are saying Josh Hartnett's a god in this movie. I don't know.
By a lot of people, do you just mean you?
Listen, it's a theory that's out there. It's got something to do with rocks being soft, but like there's a whole thing about it. And Paige, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are saying it. I don't know what to say.
I have an alternate theory that Josh Hartnett, because he has so many abilities, like way more than we would have thought, way more than one single person could possess.
Yeah, it's almost like he's the alpha and omega.
Or even better, he's one member of a 6-person team that took down Bin Laden.
Paige, I think you're missing the obvious truth that Josh Hartnett is SEAL Team 1.
Oh my God, Josh Hartnett
Paige.
is SEAL Team 1.
Yeah.
The one man standing between us and knowing what kind of bug this is. SEAL Team 1.
Coming to theaters this August.
This August.
Nailed it. All right, Paige, we've got to move past the credits. How are we still talking about Josh Hartnett's ascendancy?
Well, because he said, go into the world and preach. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's terrible. They can't get new computers. They can't go on a field trip. Everyone's sad. They're leaving the meeting, and the teacher's like, oh, shit, I left my key. Or the principal is like, I left my keys. I got to go back and get them.
Yeah.
So she goes back in. She goes to the office, and she's like looking around and is like, I hear the door. And if you watch it with subtitles, it does say that a door opens. It's hard to hear, or maybe I'm still hard of hearing.
Paige, I had subtitles on, and I did both hear and see it say that. So I don't know, but I did hear it.
Okay, so it's me.
You could just still be a whittle deaf.
I just need to have Josh Hartnett, like, touch my ear once. Then it would be healed, I think.
Paige, I am so glad you're coming with me on this journey.
That's the power of SEAL Team 1.
Come on down to Church of the SEAL Team, where we will be celebrating the one true God, Josh Hartnett, daily.
Josh Hartnett, SEAL Team 1.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get our tax-free status.
They're going to be like, I'm pretty sure Josh Hartnett is a trademark name, or at least it belongs to Josh Hartnett. We're going to have to get him on board.
I'm definitely going to look up now, and I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but I'm definitely going to look up if it's illegal to create a religion worshiping someone against their will.
I think it might be, at least for taxes.
You know what's sad, Paige? I would bet it's not illegal as long as you don't do any like harassment around it.
Fair. I don't know that you can get tax exempt status for that, though.
I'm willing to roll the dice on that if you are, Paige. Let's do this.
I mean, I'm willing to propose an alternate theory that I ask permission of my husband to do any favors that Josh Hartnett needs to make this happen.
Do you mean you're going to have Jake provide Josh Hartnett with sexual favors?
If that's what it takes.
All right. Can we capture the content? Anyway,
He's SEAL Team 1. How could you not? Anyway.
I apologize.
Anyway, in her office, she's looking for the fucking keys. I know, we're on a time crunch tonight, too, and we're just, like, everywhere.
Shit. Yeah, okay. Let's power through this. Coach, who has already been turned, and when I say coach, I don't mean Craig T. Nelson. I mean the coach from this movie, the Terminator 2 guy. He more or less sexually assaults the principal.
Absolutely does, yes.
Yeah, like that's what it is.
And regular assaults because he stabs her through the hand with a pencil.
I forgot about that. But she then like runs through the door, and it's actually like a 3-minute scene of like some really tense stuff.
It's very long.
Yeah,
through the entire school, and then gets to the door where it's locked with chains, and on the other side is a teacher who's like, I don't have my keys, I can't help you, oh my God, he's coming, don't. And of course, the second she gets outside with the scissors that she has like because she like smashes a beaker over his head, grabs scissors, runs, she makes it to the door, she's got her keys, she gets outside, and then what does the other teacher do? Stab her with the scissors because the other teacher's already been turned.
Yes. And I loved that. I did not remember that. I loved it because it's like, oh my God, can they work together and get out in time? And yes, they can. But she still gets stabbed because life be like that sometimes.
Life be like that sometimes. We cut to the next morning where SEAL Team 1 speeds in and parks their car horizontally across 3 different spaces.
Guys, he is a deity at least.
But those spots were reserved for SEAL Team 3, so not nice. But he gets out and has a bunch of drugs in pencil form and the worst haircut on earth. There's a car accident outside the school that they spend a lot of time looking at, but is no one that we need to pay attention to.
Well, I think they're doing this to show, like, this school is more violent and sexual than normal, and that is also a trait of people who have been turned, right? For lack of a better term. So I think they're doing that to establish, like, are they already being turned on a smaller level before the teachers get turned?
We will find out momentarily that allegedly they weren't, but we don't know because the people that saying that are not the leader, because Worm Team 1 is the new student. So Worm Team 1 might have turned somebody during the commute.
We have our nicknames and I love it. All right, so Worm Team 1 is obviously Mary Elizabeth Shelley or whatever the fuck her name is, right? That is her, Mary Beth Louise Scranton or whatever. It doesn't matter. Hutchinson.
I was going to say, I was like, I think Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, but okay.
Yeah, she did. She also smashed in a graveyard.
Oh, hell yeah, bitch.
Or as I like to call it, doing a full phantasm.
Oh, or Elisa Frankenstein. We gotta watch that. It is fun. Anyway, so we meet our cast of characters. Casey, who is Elijah Wood, who is very, very small. He's just one of those high school kids that like is smaller than other people and is therefore picked on.
He's like Hobbit sized. You guys get it.
You get it. Feet, furry.
Let's not bring furry feet into it. Come on.
Plus, closeted with his best friend Sam.
I have a habit of anytime Elijah Wood in any movie gets a slow push in on him as a character, I always say in my head or sometimes aloud, "Thanks for coming with me, Sam."
Aww.
It makes me laugh because it's like sometimes it sounds really silly in those situations.
I have a question for you.
Please.
Did you carry that engagement ring all the way to the UK because your furry feet told you had to?
I had to forge it in Mount Doom, Paige. I'm a weird alt-right like CEO, so I fucking love Lord of the Rings and I name weird companies after them.
Here's the wild thing. I feel like a lot of the weird alt-right people don't really understand Lord of the Rings and the time at which it was written and who it was written by. But that's the same shit with Fight Club. People always are like, they don't get it.
Exactly.
Right?
It's almost like they're idiots.
I mean, yeah. One of them made that fucking weird smart truck bullshit. Like the kind that looks like it was made out of a cereal box that can rust in the rain.
Yeah, you can't wash it or it avoids the warranty or some shit. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not sure if that's exactly it. But like, it's so people are paying $100,000 for a toy. It's crazy. Whatever.
It's weird. Anyway, we also meet Jordana Brewster, who plays Delilah. Now, I did, as I was watching this on Amazon, because they pop up fun facts as they do it, that was actually originally written for
Mario Lopez.
Charisma Carpenter, who would go on to be on Angel, but also was in Cabin Fever and a number of other movies around this time. But she didn't love the script for that character and turned it down, which is how Jordana Brewster ends up getting this role. And I rewatching it with that in mind, because I found that out early in the movie, I kind of understand because they don't give Delilah a lot of room for growth. Delilah's kind of a bitch the whole time. And then at the end is nice, which seems very out of character since we have not seen any of that growth for her.
When I saw Frodo and her kissing at the end, I was like, oh no, Frodo.
Yes, that is how I felt as well.
She's so mean.
She also, in this scene, because we also meet Stan, who is her boyfriend at the beginning of the movie, but not by lunch. And she does not kiss him because she says, I have Lancome lips. They took 72 minutes to apply. And I was like, I have been in all manner of professional makeup chairs and not fucking once has any lip anything taken 72 minutes to apply. I have no idea what that is and didn't remember it from the time. So I looked it up.
I thought it was insane it took her 72 minutes. I was like, that has to be like a gross exaggeration.
Oh.
Because 72 minutes just for your lipstick is nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. I mean, I do remember for a while when Kylie Jenner had her lip thing, she had a whole multi-liner process that maybe, but I could not find any potential reason why it would have taken 72 minutes. Now, what I did find, and maybe this is people not fully understanding the line. Maybe the subtitles are wrong, or maybe she says it so fast, who knows? But 72 was like the range that they had at the time. And so there was one called 72 minutes. And I think it was just a particular shade that maybe was a thing at the time. But that was all I could find about it. But it was wrecking my head. I was like, 72 minutes.
That is one of those things that's like, why would that even, that's so insane. Why is that a thing? I wonder if they just did that as a nod to the shade.
Yeah, so here's my thinking. Here's what I landed on, is I think it is the name of a shade that was discontinued. And so she did not want to waste it. So she had it on and then did not want to have to reapply to waste it.
Sure.
It's a weird thing, but that's what I landed on, maybe, probably. Or she just have too much time on her hands.
She definitely has too much time on her hands. But we then continue walking through the school and we just see honestly, couples we never see again, fighting.
Well, we see that fighting couple again, but they're the only one.
Yeah, but we also see other people. I think we see Elijah Wood get picked up and racked against the flagpole twice. It's crazy.
They're just ensuring that there are no baby hobbits after that. And that's not okay.
No.
Full on assault.
Yeah.
Anyway, we follow, and we do meet Mary Beth Louise Hutchinson because she's looking for the office. We follow Josh Hartnett into the bathroom where he is selling drugs and fake IDs to unforge Danny Masterson.
Well, I mean, he's selling him literal scat in my mind, so it's sort of fine because I was like, well, he's going to be snorting shit in a second, so whatever.
Did you take a close look at the ID that he sold him?
Was it that say McLovin on it? No, I didn't.
No, it's wilder. It is literally a at least middle-aged person of a very different
ethnicity, yeah,
skin color, and one would assume ethnicity. Yes, it's not specific, but he holds it up, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not gonna.
I mean, it is a fake ID, I guess. They're trying to get fake IDs because they're not all 18, I suppose. I assume Josh Hartnett is. Hopefully, I guess it's still terrible, but
it's still bad. Anyway, we cut to the faculty lounge where we meet the rest of the faculty who will not get a ton of screen time, which is a pity because some of them are incredibly talented actors.
By the way, Selma Hayek, one of the faculty. Jon Stewart, one of the faculty.
Yeah, the most beautiful woman in Mexico who cannot swim.
She is the most beautiful school nurse in all of Ohio.
Yeah, I would guarantee that.
Selma Hayek, are you serious? She would be now.
Yeah, she could probably be the most beautiful school nurse anywhere. It's Selma Hayek.
Selma Hayek in the role of a lifetime. Your school nurse.
She's just sprinkling seeds everywhere to make sure La Llorona doesn't come and eat the worms. Yeah, young Jon Stewart with still brown hair.
Yeah.
Always a little disconcerting, but this is pre-Death to Smoochie. Then you've got the guy who plays Mr. Tate has actually been in a ton of stuff as well that we have even done some of it on the show.
You mean the teacher, Mr. Tate?
Yes.
The guy who talks like this?
He does talk a little bit like Ted Levine. It is not Ted Levine.
It's not.
That would have also been great.
No, it's Daniel Von Bargen.
Also, Shooter McGavin's in this for 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, he's Elijah Wood's dad for a minute.
Yeah, Daniel Von Bargen. He was on Seinfeld for ever.
Oh, I mean, he was in a ton of stuff. Literally 87 projects he was in.
I'm trying to find the one that we have watched because I know. Oh, yeah, Silence of the Lambs. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Anyway, he's there as well. And they're all kind of having normal school conversations where Salma Hayek is sick. And maybe I am completely misremembering, but I thought that there was something about, and they were she needed her medication. I thought there was something about her taking cold medicine that would have stopped it, but maybe this is just me writing fan fiction in my head because cold medicine is often also a diuretic.
I don't know. I don't remember that at all. I just watched the movie. I think I would remember it. I don't know.
I must be thinking of something else. Anyway, but so she's treating somebody's hand and they're all kind of talking. This scene just exists for us to kind of see who they all are.
Yeah.
And to see that Robert Patrick is just pounding waters and that Mrs. Olsen has showed up and we watched her kill the principal. And so we know that she's in on it. And she suddenly had a glow up, she got turned into a vampire in Twilight.
But T2, who's pounding waters because killing Terminators is thirsty work.
Well, killing John Connors is thirsty work.
Well, and Terminators who are protecting him.
That's fair. That's true. Yeah,
Famously in that movie, T2.
Yeah, that's why there's two of them. T-Team 2.
Oh my God. It's almost like it's a perfect sequel. And better movie, I'll say.
You can understand why I thought there were 6, right?
6 what? SEAL team members?
Yes.
Paige.
It's in the name.
It's in the name. If James Cameron taught us anything, it's that Avatar 3 is going to have 3 avatars. Okay, anyway.
I'm not going to see it, so it don't matter.
I will, because I'm a slave to the Cameron.
Anyway, we cut to Famke Janssen's literature class.
It's literature, that's right.
Literature. She calls on Josh Hartnett, and he's just like, yeah, he seems like he's pretty lonely and having to jerk it because he's all by himself. How do you think about him being all by himself? And she's just like, I mean, I don't, and he's like, all by himself. It's a real sexually charged, weird scene.
It's like if Dead Poets Society had really will they, won't they fuck their teacher energy. It feels sort of like that.
Yeah. Oh, Trojan, my Trojan. Like, it's that level of...
It would be Magnum, cherry-flavored Magnum. Oh, cherry-flavored Magnum. When she comes back at the end, and she's like, I was actually looking for something more cherry-flavored. I was like, oh my God, he is your student. I know you're a squidlian. I don't know what you call squid aliens, but that's, I'm assuming,
Squidlian.
What is PC, and I'm just trying to be... Yeah. Anyway, but I don't know what squidlians do, but it shouldn't be their students, right?
Right. I will also say, the other night at Roast Battle, someone as a joke on stage offered me a shot of Ozempic, and I refused because it wasn't cherry flavored.
Love it.
And they were like, you don't eat it. And I was like, maybe not the way you do it.
Well, then you're doing it wrong, baby.
You're doing it wrong.
You know that feeling when your favorite brand really gets you? Deliver that feeling to your customers every time. Memorable moments like these are key to building your business and your brand. Klaviyo turns your customer data into real-time connections across AI-powered email, SMS, and more, making every moment count, so you can continue to build smarter, more meaningful relationships with your customers. Build smarter digital relationships with your customers, and make every moment count with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/BFCM.
Anyway, so we cut to the hallway where Jordana Brewster's like, I gotta get stuff for the newspaper. And I feel like her newspaper is just stories about her friends. Like, it's just the burn book where she's like, I exposed his alcoholism and his wife's affair last year. I was like, what kind of newspaper is this?
First off, Paige, that's not her friend. That is her teacher.
Yeah.
That is the teacher from Silence of the Lambs.
Correct.
I forget his name. Mr. Turner, I think is
Tate.
Mr. Tate. Thank you.
Mr. Tate.
Yeah.
There's a pumpkin spice Oreo. I haven't had dinner. I'm just cramming.
You're good. I wasn't expecting it. And then I look up, you're eating fucking Oreo like a squirrel.
Yeah, pumpkin spice Oreo.
You are so basic.
I'm okay with this. I mean, here's what I'll say. I think as a Scorpio, I'm most powerful during this season. And the pumpkin spice fuels that.
Pumpkin spice fuels witchiness. Put it on a t-shirt.
I made soup today. So, like, yeah.
Oh, you mean with your cauldron, Paige?
Yeah, that's what's up.
All right. I don't know what's happening, but we are struggling to stay on task. And I'll say, I apologize, but I'm loving this. Okay, Paige,
yeah.
Where are we in the movie?
Got you. So Stan tells Delilah that he is going to quit the football team.
Because he's an idiot.
Right.
Because he wants to quit the thing that would guarantee he could get a higher level of education no matter what his family's income level is. It's so dumb. It is so dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's positioned like a great thing.
Yeah, it is. And he's trying to be a cool student because we go to his next class, which is Mr. Tate's class, where he's like, teacher, you forgot to give us homework. And also it's chapter 5, not chapter 4. And Tate is like sweating, not doing good, maybe already turned.
He's drunk, Paige. It shows him.
Oh yeah, he is super drunk.
Pouring like tequila or vodka or some shit into his coffee and drinking it.
Whiskey, probably whiskey. Whiskey goes good with coffee.
Probably whiskey. You're right. I don't drink. I don't know.
Yeah. Anywho, we cut to seemingly like a passing period or a break or whatever, and Stokely is just kind of chilling. And this is when Worm Team 1 comes up. And it's just like, hi, I'm new here. I don't have any friends. And it looks like you've got even one less than that. Do you want to be my friend? And she's just like, no. And Delilah walks up and is just like, oh, are you going to be friends with the violent lesbian? And it's just brutal and mean. And I do love that Stokely just goes, fuck you, gutter slut. I was like, gutter slut's a great insult. Gotta bring that one back.
It's not bad. And also, fuck Delilah, because she possibly just outed this person. And also, like, if she's not gay, she's positioning it like that's a terrible thing anyway. Like, she's just a bad person.
Yeah.
She's a bad person, and our morals don't align. Like, I couldn't be around that person and be comfortable.
Normally, I would not approve of any slut shaming. However, great, like, tonal alliteration where it's like the two words sound alike. I love that. Same with twat waffle. Big fan.
Same.
But also, yes, if somebody outs you and is trying to insult you for being gay, I'm going to say all bets are off. You could say a lot of shit in that case.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do love that she's like, new girl, are you a lesbian? And she's like, I don't think there's any lesbianism in my lineage. And I was like, what a crazy thing to say.
And in her fairness, she's an alien.
She's an alien. And before I remembered that, I was like, maybe she's the first of her family to go to the other side. Like, just going to discover it. Anyway, Elijah Wood, eating by himself out on the bleachers, finds a little desiccated worm thing out in the grass. And Robert Patrick is just like, hey, I seen you around, kid whose name I don't know. You're not really into sports. He's like, I only run if I'm being chased. He's like, all right, get out of here. And then as he runs away, he's like, that kid's got speed. I was like, why is he still scouting for football players? He's a full-ass alien.
He's an alien with a job and a cover to maintain, Paige.
That's fair.
And he's going to win state if it's the last thing his alien body does.
I mean, this is why Tony Shalhoub still works at that bodega in Men in Black. 4-time Tony Shalhoub sex partner. Anyway, Elijah Wood runs away. Meanwhile, back at the school, Stokely is kind of looking around and is like, shit's kind of weird. And the one teacher, Mrs. Olson, goes in to talk to Mrs. Brummel, who's the old teacher. And she keeps bumping into Stan. Because this is the thing. Like, I think they try to play this as part of their, like, relationship that they keep bumping into each other. Like, they just couldn't keep their bodies apart.
It does seem like that. Although at first she is like, don't touch me, ass, or whatever. She's like not into it, obviously, because she's like goth or whatever they're trying to code her as in this movie.
I think high school has been hard for her, and she's just trying to get through and avoiding people because she's like, I'll just get through it and I won't worry about it.
We don't see any of this. I think she had a very close friend that hurt her very dearly, and she no longer wants to open herself up vulnerably enough to have that happen again. She's got to work through that in therapy. Anyway,
all right.
That's not on the screen. That's what I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, hear me out, she's a god. Anyway, we cut to Jon Stewart's class where he's like, hey, Elijah Wood's like, I found this weird worm. And they're like, gather around, everyone. Who cares if it's contagious? Let's look at it under the microscope. And they are kind of trying to figure out. They're like, it's clearly like a sea dwelling. We don't really know what it is. They put it in water and it multiplies.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I got to call the university and get me some of that grant money. But in the water, we see that it's got these like stringy things. And he sticks his hand into it to like try and test the water, and it bites him. So it also has teeth.
It literally like pulls its like mouth open and then bites him with teeth.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Big mouth, tiny mouth.
Yeah.
Like alien.
It also like, this doesn't hold up a lot because it's like 1990s.
The effects are not great.
Yeah, but it's like that. It's 1990s.
It's not terrible though.
It holds up-ish.
It holds up better than like The Mummy.
It does.
And I still fuck with The Mummy. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the locker room where the other football players are messing with Casey. One of them turns around and we will reveal that it is Usher. Usher Raymond is the football captain in this movie. He is in 3 scenes.
He's not the football captain yet, though.
Yet, he's about to be.
Because our boy Stan hasn't done the stupidest thing ever and quit his football team.
Yeah, because he does go, he finds the coach by the pool, literally like in this scene, and quits the football team.
He does.
And the coach is just like, do what you got to do, man. I got to go find me John Connor.
He's like, I don't really give a shit if you quit or not. Like, it seems like you're in the middle of like finding out who you are, and I'm just going to let that happen. By the way.
As long as you're not John Connor, we're cool.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, I don't give a shit. What's your name, Stan? You're not the boy I'm looking for, so you can fuck off, please.
You're not the boy I'm looking for. You can fuck off.
He's in LA? How did I end up in Ohio?
Man, I was on that motorcycle longer than I thought. Anyway. Stan goes to take a shower, and we see someone's feet as they walk in the shower, and it is Mrs. Brummel, and she's like, I can't breathe, and her scalp falls off, and it's real upsetting.
It is. It's pretty graphic. I don't love it, but it's effective.
It is. We cut to, and Casey runs in to try to help, but we cut to the office like minutes later where they're just like, she had cancer, so like, you know.
They're trying to cover, they're like trying to make up any sort of story that might justify whatever, but we know what's going on.
Yeah, and at this point, Elijah Wood looks out the window and sees the coach just in the middle of the field with sprinklers soaking him, at which point I'm kind of like, yeah, that is weird behavior unless he's a Terminator, in which case you're like, I mean, what if this is just what happened after T2? Anyway, we cut to Josh Hartnett's car where
Wait. He couldn't get back to the future?
Yeah.
So he had to live out his days as a Ohio teacher?
Teacher, yeah.
Fuck, that's actually pretty dark, man.
I'm just picturing the mainframe in his head where he's like, what play should we do, coach? And it's just like, Hail Mary, do a reverse, fuck you, asshole. And just like selects it.
Love it.
Anyway, we go to Josh Hartnett's car where Famke Jensen kind of follows him out there. But he's selling VHS porn to students.
Yeah, he's distributing pornography to minors in this scene.
Yeah, pornographies. Although I think they are fake because he's claiming that it is nude videos of Neve Campbell and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Well, full frontal page. That's what he qualifies it. It's full frontal. It's fine. It's whatever.
It's full frontal.
But yeah, I don't think it's real either. I think it's oregano to middle school kids. Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Just like the caffeine pills.
Yeah.
I think he's just an entrepreneurial kid who's like morally flexible.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're going to be SEAL Team 1, sometimes there's gray areas. But Famke Janssen comes up, and this is where, and he offers her a number of things from the car, and she's like, don't do this. You're so smart. You could have just taken your finals. Why did you stay? And it's at this point that I'm like, are they? Don't like this. Don't like it at all.
No, and you shouldn't.
Anyway. We cut to Casey is trying to tell Delilah, like, hey, we found this new weird worm thing. You should write about that for the newspaper. And she's just like, whatever. You're the one Stephen King kid in every school. And I'm like, there is always one, usually more than one, usually like a whole club.
Yeah.
But she wants to break into the teacher's lounge to see what's up and to see, what they can find. So they break in, they find Selma Hayek's pills. They like hide in a closet because they hear people coming, and they overhear and watch Coach and Mrs. Olsen turn Salma Hayek, but as they're doing that, Miss Brummel's body falls on them and they fall out of the closet.
Yes, and the body falling on them, that part of the reveal, because they're also like killing or turning, I don't quite know how to describe it, but they're spitting a bug into Selma Hayek's ear, right?
Right.
So there's like that scary thing going on, and then out of like nowhere in the closet they're in, there's a body falling on them. Like, it's a pretty scary scene. I would be terrified if I was in that moment, Right,
and so they kind of fall out and run. They make it out, but of course Elijah Wood calls the police. They come back with Elijah Wood's parents, Shooter McGavin, and a lady that looks like Bonnie Hunt, but isn't Bonnie Hunt.
It is Bobo Bonnie Hunt, though, because they do look a lot alike.
They do look a lot alike.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, it's just the CPR mannequin. But like, police, if you want to come talk to me privately, and they definitely turn that police officer.
Oh, yeah.
And then they try to turn Casey's mom, where they're like, we could talk to you privately. And he's like, no, absolutely not. I know they got him. We cut back to their house where they're like, he's on drugs. Definitely.
It really is Shooter McGavin just like verbally abusing Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
And, literally like ransacking his room and stealing his pornography and his phone and his TV or whatever. He's like being punished for lying about this, right?
Yeah. Then he put on a kiss mask and he made out with his grandma. It was real uncalled for.
That does sound uncalled for.
And he bought his grandma's house at the auction so that Casey had to win the majors to win the house back.
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Also, a guy lost his hand.
Oh, Chubbs.
Oh, Chubbs. Anyway, they take his music, his phone, and his porn. Also, did you see it was not a cell phone? It's a cordless, like, phone.
No, yeah, it was a cordless phone. I mean, it was 98 page. Like,
Yeah.
It probably would have been beepers if they had taken, like, a cellular type device.
That's true. But they left his computer because grown-ups did not fully understand the power of the internet at the time.
But he did say, I'm taking your internet, which I thought was funny because, like, I guess maybe if you took the phone line out of the room, because at this point it still was a phone line.
Or the little black box with the button on it that sits at the top of the
internet page.
The internet. Anyway, he thinks that he sees them on the lawn. So and by them, I mean the faculty, the teachers. He thinks they're coming to get him. So he sneaks out. He goes back into the house. And it does make it look like his mom is turned.
Yes.
But I think this is just the movie trying to make us nervous. Because ultimately, I don't think she is. Otherwise, she would have turned him while he slept.
I think so, too. I also think that they sort of like use the mom as like, oh my God, thank God Elijah Wood saw what the principal did to the police so he could stop his mom from going into the office. So yeah, I don't think his mom is turned, but I do think they want you to think, oh my God, she might be.
I think this is actually an homage to The Thing, where if you remember in The Thing where there's questions about who is turned by who, there is a shadow, and we know that the dog goes in and talks to the shadow, but we're not 100% sure whose shadow it is.
Yeah.
And that plays into the multiple theories of who the Thing is. So it could just be kind of a, homage to that.
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway, the next day, his dad drives him to school, and he's like, you're coming home right after school. That will not happen. But the coach goes to talk to him. As he goes into school, he grabs Delilah, and Delilah is dressed down. She thinks she's incognito. She is not. She looks mostly the same.
But let me ask this, Paige.
Sure.
Do you think she's already turned in this moment?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I think she was. I think when Elijah Wood slips and she runs out and doesn't wait for him, again, because she's a nightmare person who Elijah Wood deserves better than at the end of this movie.
Correct.
But I think she got turned when she deserted him in that moment.
Somebody got her, yeah.
Yeah, somebody got to her. We don't see it, but that's what I think when it happened.
Or they got her the next morning. Because we don't know if she called the police. We don't know any of that. We only see what happened to Elijah Wood. So either in that moment or when she comes back to school. But she also says they're calling students into the office, and they do call her and she doesn't go. But she's like, look, something is going on. Something is happening. Like, I don't know what's happening. But she's trying to talk Elijah Wood out of doing anything about it.
Yeah.
She's like, let's just stay quiet.
Well, because
she's turned. Yeah.
She's turned. Yeah. Okay. I also think because in the bathroom, she's like, we've got to be able to go to the cops. There's people who aren't turned. We got to go and like tell people. And I think she's doing this because she knows they're at a critical mass point where that would really just be getting him out in the open for them to be able to turn it.
Or if they take him to the cops will turn it.
Well, because the cops are turned. Yeah. Which like, it doesn't surprise me in a movie that like one of the allegories is conformity. The cops are some of the first that turn and then force you to conform.
Yes. Obey.
Oh.
Fight Keith David in an alley.
Yeah. I'm not saying they do it perfectly like they do when They Live.
Right. Flawless film.
But they're playing with the themes.
They're playing with the themes. We cut to the teacher's lounge where the AC is turned on and all the coffee has been replaced with water. Both giant water, dispenser waters and bottled water.
Well, because coffee doesn't hydrate you, which is what they need, right?
Right. Stokely in the hallways knocks into Stan.
Yeah.
And she at this point is like, something's going on. She's like, it's weird. And she finds out that he has decided not to play football, and she asks him about it. And they do get a moment of vulnerability here where we find out that she has been following the game. She thinks he's really talented, but he's like, they are changing my grades. I'm not actually achieving things that I'm actually doing,
Paige, I do think that this movie sort of does acknowledge that this white athlete male does have a lot of privilege, and he recognizes that. And there are elements of that I like because he does acknowledge that. It's 98, and that is what they're saying in this movie. But it's also so unrealistic to me that an 18-year-old kid who literally could throw a ball and be on Easy Street would not choose that path.
Yeah.
That just seems so foreign for an 18-year-old white, I mean, not even white, an 18-year-old kid.
Right. We cut to the lockers where God Hartnett is selling drugs to other students, and Worm Team 1 sees that happening.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I couldn't because aspirin would probably kill me.
I'm allergic.
They overhear all the club presidents being called to the school office.
Yeah, all the influential students.
And this is also where we see within the same hallway, just kind of down the hallway, Stan runs into Ursher and he's like, I'm the new team captain.
Don't be mad at me. Which Ursher, he quit.
Yeah.
He's not going to be mad at you for taking on the role, he quit. It wasn't like you usurped it. That's not your name. You're Ursher.
These are my confessions. I like to play football, and now I'm the captain, and there's nothing you can do about it.
But also, like, have it. I quit the team.
Yeah, you make me want to play the captain. Now I'm just hearing Ursher songs like, hey, do you want to be team captain? Yeah. Because I got that number on my jersey. Yeah. Anyway, he's the new team captain. And he's like, I don't know, the church. I don't know. The nurse is doing some weird ear check thing where they're looking in ears. Anyway, captain, bye.
Oh, they already got him though, right? Like he already got.
Not yet.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. He could be at this point because how else would he know about them checking the ears?
Yeah.
Unless he's just seen other people doing it. He could go either way for me at this
Paige,
point.
he was second in line for the captaincy of the football team. There's no way he wasn't on the influential list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the tough part about that ear check is you gotta let it burn. I like Usher. I enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show. On roller skates, man.
Did he perform in roller skates?
Bro, did you not see it? Everyone was on roller skates.
No, I did not see it.
It was fucking impressive as fuck.
I haven't watched a halftime show since Prince did it right.
That's fair. I will say that this was the first time in many years. I also loved Lady Gaga. I did not hate J-Lo and Shakira. I thought that was great. But this was one that I was like, oh, I'm the old person now. And I remembered the time when it was Paul McCartney. And even though I like Paul McCartney, I was like, this seems like some real old person ass shit. And then this time I was at a Super Bowl party and I was like singing along to every song. And my godson was there and he's like, what songs are these? And I was like, oh no, this is what has happened.
Yeah, we've become the old people, right? Which, honored to have made it this far in life,
yeah.
But it's a sad reality. I also kind of think that the last good halftime show was back in 1975.
Who was it in 75?
That was the last year they had college marching bands perform, Paige.
You fucking nerd. They still have those usually in pre-show, and they usually just play, Happy by Pharrell and then call it a day.
Actually, no, it looks like they did them later than that, too. Hang on.
Yeah, like I said, they still usually have them on either side.
Damn. Wow, they had them into the 90s. Okay, yeah. So the last time a marching band performed was 1990. Guess who played the halftime show the next year, guys?
Let's see, 1991?
Yeah, it would have been the 91 is the first year they didn't have a marching band. Or I should say it's the last year after they didn't have a marching band anymore. Because they did some years in between the 70s and 90 where it was like someone else. But they did go back to having marching bands. But Paige, I'll just tell you, New Kids on the Block.
That was my guess. Oh my God.
Yeah. New Kids on the Block, Disney characters, Warren Moon, and 2,000 local children. So it went from 1990, a straight up marching band from college, to the New Kids on the Block the next year. Crazy.
That was my guess. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, 90s, that makes sense.
Am I SEAL Team 1?
No, that's Josh Hartnett.
That's Josh Hartnett. Here's why I thought, because my first thought I was like, 91, it's the first time they're going to make a big splash. Who's big enough at the time? And I was like, Rolling Stones, no, that happened later. I remember that one. And I was like, Backstreet Boys are too young. And I was like, but New Kids on the Block, they were right around that time. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Anyway.
So Josh Hartnett is walking through the school and he sees that couple that's usually fighting. One of them's not fighting anymore. He's starting to notice that weird things are happening, but he's talking to Worm Team 1 and she's like, my parents are dead. And he's like, my parents might as well be dead. They're in Europe.
Which I get that she's Worm Team 1. That is the most callous thing I've ever heard someone say to someone else who just said my parents are dead. That's a pretty emotional reveal for somebody.
Sure.
Hey, my parents are dead. I had to move here because I have family in this area and my parents died. And then that person to be like, yeah, my parents are pretty much dead because they're rich. Am I right? We're the same level of sad. What? God? How dare you? God Hartnett?
Terrible. Not benevolent. Malevolent.
He's definitely an Old Testament style God, yes. I want you to take Worm Team 2 up the mountain and cut him in half.
And we'll have 2 worms, and one of them will be cursed, and all the lines from that worm are cursed. Anyway, so as they're talking, Danny Masterson unfortunately darkens our screens once again to try and buy more drugs, but very clearly they're like, do you have any more, in your car, in your locker? And he's like, No, and lies. He still does have more, but they're clearly trying to like clear him out.
Yeah, and he plays it off like, I don't want you to overdo it. These are drugs, man, but they're like caffeine pills, so it probably would have been fine. But I think he's starting to put it together, like something's going on and the drugs are somehow involved. I don't think he knows exactly why, but he's starting to piece it together because, again, he's God.
Right, and he is all-knowing and all-seeing, and so, like, he doesn't even have to turn around to know that Famke Janssen is there. It's just like, what's up? And she's just like, hey, shut the fuck up. I'm tired of your fucking shit. Also, your parents don't fucking love you. Where the fuck are they even? You're alone. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And if I ever catch you selling drugs again, I'm going to stick my foot so far up your ass, you'll be sucking my toes till graduation. And I wrote in my notes, oh, did Quentin Tarantino punch up this scene?
One can only hope. I don't know, maybe. And this is he clearly is like, something is not right there. Something bad is happening.
No, he's not down to be topped. So he's like, I'm not into this. What are we doing? This is not the submissive Famke Janssen that I was into and also was my literature teacher. There's a lot wrong in this movie, guys. I'm not trying to justify it.
It's got real Riverdale energy.
How dare you? How dare you bring in Riverdale? These people are from Ohio. They're not Riverdalians.
And yet the cure for the worms is fizzle sticks.
You're not wrong.
So as they kind of go back into the school, Casey snags Stokely, Delilah kind of snags Zeke, and they all kind of coalesce in the library where they're pretty sure it's aliens. And Stokely's like, I mean, body snatchers, here are the stories behind it, but I don't know, parasites? And that kind of triggers Casey to be like, parasites, the thing we found.
Yeah.
Let's go check it out. But the tank is empty. It's gone.
Well, yeah, because Jon Stewart's been turned. Although he does try and play it off that he did send it off to the university, but we all know the truth.
Yeah, he's just walking in Indecision 1998. Let's go.
I mean, in all fairness, he was the Greg Kinnear we didn't know we needed because The Daily Show got so much better when he took over.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, Greg Kinnear went on to do movies, so he had a great career too. So I'm sure he's not mad at it. But Jon Stewart's way better served where he is. I think he was a fine actor. I think he's way better at the lane he's in.
I think he knows that too.
Yeah.
I don't think at any point he's like, no, it should have been me. I should have been Leonardo DiCaprio.
I can't picture him and Claire Danes and Romeo and Juliet together and not be very uncomfortable. Especially because at that time, it's sort of this time, and he had a goatee.
See?
And that is not a great look for Jon Stewart, at least. And honestly, me, I've had a goatee and it did not look good on me.
It's very few people can rock it. I'm picturing him on the bow of the boat at the Titanic, just are you sure you want to do that? I mean, the class warfare here. Anyway, so he comes in and they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure the school is taken over by aliens. And he's like, I'm just going to lock this door and try to fight a bunch of children. We cut around because there's also the scene where Zeke and Mary Beth go shopping for his supplies and make out a little bit. But then they overhear them talking about the aliens. So they go next door, talk about the aliens. And then who should show up but Jon Stewart?
Okay, but Josh Hartnett's entrance into the scene where they're talking about possibly they're being overrun by aliens.
Yes.
It's like he has been taken over by aliens as a bit. And I think that that's a godlike move. That is something that they're going to understand as a joke, even if they don't love it.
Right.
They're not going to shoot you or whatever.
One could hope. But Jon Stewart's like, hey guys, yeah, stay still. This is not going to take long. And they get into a full ass fight with him. It culminates with Josh Hartnett stabbing him in the eye with a pen, not fully knowing if he's an alien or not, taking a guess, but that takes effect immediately, which lets him know basically what can kill these things. But at this point, Stan is like, all right, so we all saw that. Clearly aliens. We're going to go out to the car. We're going to go to the parking lot, get in the car, and leave as quickly as possible. Don't stop for anything.
Yeah.
And as they do all the way out, people watch them because it is a hive mind.
And it's they're cluing in on it, right? So it's they're out of the classroom just barely and no one's really noticing them, but the camera's closing in and doing really close-up shots with a really small focal length. So everything else is blurry except for their face and their eyes. And then you start to see reactions of people looking at them. And it just for a minute, it's a whole ass minute. They're just trying to get to the car. And I actually sort of like this, although it does take a long time, but it builds a lot of tension and sort of amps up the stakes as to holy shit. It's pretty much the whole school at this point.
Yeah, but they get to Josh Hartnett. They get to the car, then they get to Josh Hartnett's house. And Josh Hartnett is like, yeah, my mom and dad are in Europe. But yeah, I just have been turning these caffeine pills into pen cocaine, and they take one of the dried ones that they picked up off the floor in Jon Stewart's classroom. They're dissecting it to try and see what happens. So they give it to a lab rat. Very, very sad.
Yeah.
And then they dissect that lab rat and realize that it kind of pulled out all the liquid out of it, and it is a parasite and needs a host. We learn all this stuff. And he's like, well, the drugs that I make are a diuretic. It dries it out. Now, Amazon did also tell me that this is incorrect and it would have to be ingested. You couldn't just stab somebody with it, but I don't care. I'm going to live in the world of the movie on that one because it's way more fun to stab people with pens.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, this is also where Stokely is like, okay, well, maybe if you kill the master one, like you kill the queen, it kills all of them, which is actually more of a vampire thing, but kind of a body snatcher thing. And they're like, okay, so who is the queen? But first, they're like, we got to make sure that none of us have it.
Yeah.
Which is basically a repipe of the scene from The Thing with the blood test.
The blood test scene. Yeah, it's great, though. And I kind of like it in this, even though it's like, it's insane. They're high school kids. They have a gun. They're like at gunpoint forcing each other to like snort caffeine pills. It's truly a crazy scene, but I sort of love it. It's so wild.
It is. I do think some of the giggling and some of the other stuff and the way they've set it up undercuts some of what could have. If you want this to be serious and scary, like that scene in The Thing is one of the most tense, terrifying scenes in that fucking movie.
It's truly a very well done tense scene, yeah.
And they literally do it almost beat for beat here, but they really don't achieve that same intensity. But they go through, everyone takes it till it's down to Worm Team 1 and Delilah. Delilah. Look, we've got a caller in from Minneapolis. What would you like to say to your loved ones?
Yeah, I think I need both of y'all to take these caffeine pills because I don't know if y'all's want to use this as an alien. So, like, I'm going to hold a gun to your face and make you do it.
Okay, so that was On the Wings of Love. On the wings of love, up and above the clouds. The only way to fly.
But that's what happens. Like, under pain of getting shot in the face, they are forced to take them. And they're like looking at each other, and they're both, we don't know because Mary Elizabeth Shelley or whatever.
Worm Team 1.
Worm Team 1 is. It hasn't been revealed that she's Worm Team 1, but Delilah, who's like Worm Team 97, she is like, they know.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking at each other like, we're fucked. They've got us. And we do sort of see later, because they reveal it, how Worm Team 1 gets around this, and it's the dumbest way possible.
It's pretty dumb.
But I only say that because the reveal is it knocked the pen top off, and so the caffeine
falls
out the other side. But when it shows that, it doesn't show the normal human finger that girl had the entire movie. It shows like a tentacle.
Yeah.
So why would she change your finger that's in disguise into a tentacle just to knock a pen cap off?
Yeah.
It was real dumb. But I loved it.
Yeah. The nose thing bothers me too, because like a feature of this animal, I guess has to be replication and changing, but they just don't go into it as much. So it kind of has any powers it needs whenever it needs them, and I don't love that.
Yeah, it's sort of like Josh Hartnett.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's one of them.
No, he is just a deity at least.
Anyway, so at this point, they shoot Jordana Brewster because they're just like, oh my God, she's got it. She's full of the stuff. And then like they shoot her in the head, or as they try to shoot her, they ruin the lab. They like knock everything over. Then they shoot her, but she pops right back up. She ends up getting into a student driver car that I guess she's called with her hive mind.
I mean, I would assume so, yeah.
But at this point, they're like, well, that was most of the supply. And Worm Team 1 comes up giggling as if she's just taken the drug because she watched everyone else take it.
Yeah, and she saw like Elijah Wood giggling and everyone else who was on it also giggling. This is very performative from her. It's also like right at the end of the scene, and it's sort of almost like a throwaway, which I think it does a good job of being like, oh, see, so she is just a normal person. And I think that's like a nice...
If you haven't seen it before, yes.
Yes.
If you have seen it, you're just like, nah.
Yeah, we're on to you.
We're on to you, Worm Team 1. Anyway, they're like, well, the only place that the queen would be, if we have to find the queen or whatever, is the football game. They go to the football game where they're literally like infecting players on the field.
Yeah.
And everyone is basically infected. And they see Mrs. Olsen and the principal, and they're like, it's gotta be the principal. Because as a kid, you're like, well, the principal is like the king of the school or queen of the school. So like, that must be the person. So they try to wrangle her into the gym.
Well, and they do. I mean, they are successful in murdering their principal, who is a turned sort of alien thing, right? Like,
sure.
I think it's safe to argue that their principal was dead already.
I think so.
Or under control, maybe?
Under control. That's the other question I have about Salma Hayek, but also Famke Janssen, because like her whole head came off.
But she is fine at the end.
I know.
And from what I understand, because Josh Hartnett and her are like together, her head game's on point.
Anyway, so they shoot her in the head. And there's some debate because they're like, make her take the thing. She won't take it because it's drugs. And Josh Hartnett shoots her in the head and a bunch of worms come out. And this is the one that gets me. The body horror. I hate it. They're everywhere. I don't like it at all.
This is one I remembered, but it is like, oof. They do a good job. Like some of the body horror, the stuff that looks like it might be practical with like some CGI overlay stuff is pretty good and pretty gross.
Well, and at this point, Worm Team 1, because they're a traitor, dumps the entire stash of the stuff on her, killing her because they're like, it's the queen, right? It's the queen.
It's definitely not me. Let's kill this bitch. Yeah. And they do. I mean, the principal dies.
Yes. They now are like, well, we got to test to see if it worked. And so Stan is going to go out to the football team and see if it worked. But before he goes out, Stokely kisses him because she's like, I didn't want to have never done that. Even though we have not really laid enough groundwork for that. But it's fine. We'll accept it.
Yeah.
He goes out to the football team. And it's raining outside. And they're all just like looking up at the rain with spaghetti coming out of their faces. And I don't like it.
It is not, well, I mean, I like it. I think it's silly. It made me laugh because they are standing there like they themselves are flowers taking a drink of the rain that's pouring down on them. And they have little like snakes out of their face.
Little spaghettis.
Yeah. Well, they are very thin. Snakes is probably implies much thicker. It's very, it's like thin red yarn coming out of their face.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. If you had one shot, one opportunity.
Oof. Face spaghetti.
To turn the former team captain into a worm. Face spaghetti. But he doesn't come back, or at least doesn't come back without being infected. They definitely infect him. By the time he gets back to the door, he's like, oh, I can't take the drug. I lost it. And they're like, well, here's the last one. And he dumps it out. He won't take it. And he's like, it's better. Just like, let me turn you guys into worms. And Stokely's like, no.
This is where they really drive home the conformity, I think, metaphor, or at least as good as they do in the movie. Because he's like, listen, it's actually way better on this side. Like, you just go along to get along. It's great.
Yeah.
And then, Josh Hartnett says the dumbest thing I've ever heard a Josh Hartnett say. And that is, and let me preface this by saying Josh Hartnett is behind a locked door.
Sure.
And he runs up to it, pushes Elijah Wood out of the way and says, come in here, I'll show you what pain is. And like, that's really dumb for someone who's hiding from an alien behind a locked door. I realize he's God, but like, we can do better.
I feel like if you give that line to Ripley in the powerlifting suit, it sounds fucking rad. But in this case, no, you're like, that's just a door. And like, everyone's the aliens, man. So like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's a terrible mistake that you're about to make. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, they all go to the gym and they're like, maybe the coach is the guy. And they're like, well, I don't know what we're going to do. We're unarmed. We don't have anything. And he's like, I might still have some in my trunk, but that means we're going to have to run from the football team. So it's going to be him and Elijah Wood, where Elijah Wood's going to kind of create a diversion. He's going to get to the trunk.
Yeah.
So they go out and he ends up in one of the school buses. Who should show up but Delilah? And he's running from the football team too. They're smashing through the windows and Delilah's like, oh, you were always so pathetic. But also, I guess he's supposed to be into her at the end. Anyway, he climbs up onto the top of the school bus. Meanwhile, Josh Hartnett gets to the car and who should be there but Famke Janssen? And she's just like, give me them condoms, son.
Yeah.
Give me thems. And he's like, oh, I don't have those. Something else for you. You should take these drugs. Because they're inside the car. They're not in his trunk. So he's trying to like get into the car. She smashes through the window. He knocks her to the back seat. She's trying to like lick his ear and put a worm in it or just get a taste. Not sure because upsetting. But he buckles himself in and then crashes into the school bus, throwing her through the windshield, which does decapitate her. But then her head, and clearly copying the thing, tentacles its way, and then she picks it up and puts it back on. And he's like, oh, fuck, like, no, not good. Meanwhile, back in the gym, Worm Team 1 and Stokely are like, it could be anyone. And she's like, well, maybe, like, it actually made him better. Maybe it's whatever. And at this point, Stokely is like, oh, no, it's this bitch. I'm locked in here with her. Like, oh no.
As she's having this realization, Worm Team 1 tentacles up and punches her in the face.
Yes. Punches her in the face. They make it to the pool, which seems to be adjacent to the gym.
Yeah.
And she tentacles her up in the air and then smashes her down on the end of the pool, like on the sidewalk around the pool, to the point where I'm like, that would kill you.
I mean, it knocks her out and she falls into the water or gets pulled into the water. And if she's passed out in water, she will die. Like, she will drown.
Yeah, it's not good. But Casey gets back just in time, pulls her out of the water. Josh Hartnett makes it back. And by the time Josh Hartnett makes it back, Stokely and Casey are hiding in the locker room.
Yeah.
And she is now, the Worm Team 1 is now back in naked human form, who's just like, and you know, this planet's really good. And I lost my parents and I thought we could bond. Bitch, I don't care about your problems.
She was like, my old world was only oceans and then it dried up. So I escaped. Also, really want to know how you escaped, but they escaped and came here.
Shipped it from Ireland. It was a bitch to do. Wouldn't you like to know about it? But Josh Hartnett gets there and they're like, no, it's her. No, it's her. Shoot her. No, shoot her. And he does try to go after Worm Team 1. He does believe them. She literally tosses this entire locker room. Like, every locker surface gets people smashed into it. Casey and Stokely end up kind of in like a cage thing, or at least Stokely does, because he puts her there to kind of avoid her because she is also wormed. But it ends up with Josh Hartnett unconscious. Casey runs into the gym where he hides behind the bleachers, and now she's like full worm, like Men in Black Edgar suit, full ass worm.
Not even Edgar suit, like looks like an amphibian sort of worm with like squiddly tentacles on the end.
Yes. And she like tries to close the bleachers to try and crush him. He ends up crushing her in the bleachers as they're closing, trapping her. And then she reaches out to try to basically eat him. She like throws worms into his skin. Hated that. Real gross.
Yeah.
And then he takes all the rest of the pens.
Which is like 3. It's not. It's
like 3 of them.
Ton.
Yeah. Dabs them into her eye. It takes effect. The worms dry up and fall out. He goes back into the locker room. Josh Hartnett's okay. Stokely's okay. Everything goes back to normal. We cut to a month later where Josh Hartnett is playing football for some reason and seemingly
banging Famke Janssen
in a really inappropriate relationship with his teacher. It's really upsetting. But, you know, Stokely and Stan are together, and then Delilah and Casey are together, which I don't love, but everyone's kind of making out.
You can do better, Casey. Come on.
Yeah. And Casey's considered like the hero of the thing.
Like literally on Time magazine.
Yes.
And then like another famous magazine. And then of course the local school newspaper.
I think it's Newsweek and Time.
Yeah. Which like, what?
I know.
But whatever. I mean, I loved it. It was great. But yes, Paige. And then...
And that's the movie.
Did you see the post-credit scene?
No, what?
Yeah, so it's literally it's like a pretty wide shot, and it's Elijah Wood like walking across the football field with his camera, and it's all in voiceover, and it's like, he says, "Dear alien, we accept that we had to sacrifice everything to stop you from taking over our town, our school, our lives. But we think you're crazy to assume that we were just going to give up. You saw us as weak, divided, and easy to control. You tried to see us as in the simplest terms, in the most convenient definitions. But what we found out through fighting you is that each one of us is a brain, a jock, a rebel, a queen bee, and an outsider. Sincerely yours, the survivors." Anyway, I wrote that because I was like, this is just Breakfast Club.
It is.
And the Body Snatchers, and I'm here for it.
It's The Thing meets Breakfast Club.
Yeah. And I loved it, honestly. And I honestly do think Josh Hartnett is a god in this movie. I think we need to start Zekeism or possibly Church of Tyler. We'll figure out the naming. But like, I'm into it. I think it's great. I like this theory.
I mean, it holds up.
Because it's final thoughts, I probably should give some serious final thoughts. I really do like the movie. I think it's fun. It's not nearly as scary the second time around, although I'll give it more than a 1, but not much more than a 1, because I knew what was going to happen for the most part. And although I only really remembered the scary parts, and so my brain got to really enjoy the twists and turns this went on. So I enjoyed this movie. I'm glad the listeners made us revisit it, largely because, Paige, you weren't on the original.
I was not on the original.
So you're the only host. We don't have your opinion on it.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about it? Give me some final thoughts.
I think the first time I watched it, I really liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it doesn't hold up great on rewatches. I do wish it was either a little goofier or a little more tense. It feels like it kind of straddles the middle.
It is a weird, campy premise taken a little seriously for my liking, but I do still like the campiness of it. I'm still here for it.
Yeah.
Like the heightened version of everything is so silly to me. Like that Thing sequence where they're like forcing them at gunpoint to take the Zeke powder or the Scat. It's called Scat. Oh my God, I forgot it was called Scat. So like in that scene, it's so funny. It's just such a funny scene to me. Anyway, but Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, it is with your fun facts. Queen
Scat,
Bee, fun facts.
So this was shot mostly at a high school in Texas that had a very popular football team that people would actually show up to the games. So they just told everyone that there was going to be a football game and they gave them fake t-shirts to wear in the stand.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Now, according to most fun fact places, that school has since been torn down and rebuilt.
Oh, okay.
Not surprising. If you look at the interiors of the school, it's pretty fucked up.
Okay.
It was clearly a pretty old school. You can see like the walls are dirty. The doors are not great. I was not surprised to find out it had been torn down. Now, you may or may not have noticed, but one of the other teachers that only appears in that kind of initial roundabout in the teacher's lounge, he's the one being treated by Salma Hayek.
Yes.
Is actually Harry Knowles of Ain't It Cool News fame.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not notice that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, problematic guy occasionally.
Yeah,
I'm just
sure.
This is a piece of history because
Right.
it was on this set, allegedly, that he had heard that Peter Jackson was making Lord of the Rings and urged Elijah Wood to go for it, even though Elijah Wood had never read the books. And Elijah Wood ultimately did, and completely ignored the news that Peter Jackson was casting British actors and videotaped his own audition and then ultimately got the role.
I mean, and it does great in that movie, so good for him.
In 1990, David Wechter and Bruce Kimmel wrote their first draft of the script, which was originally called The Feelers,
Okay.
and sent it out. There were no buyers. It wasn't until after the success of Scream, the original Scream in 1996, that Miramax bought the script and rushed it into production, thinking it would be their meta horror movie. And they brought in, and of course, Miramax, it is Bob and Harvey Weinstein at the time, brought in Kevin Williamson to do rewrites, obviously, keeping the basic story, but rewriting the dialogue and adding new characters to make it a little more hip. He was originally set to direct it as well, but he chose not to so he could direct Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which he had wrote ultimately. So the Weinsteins brought in Robert Rodriguez to direct the film instead. This is actually a pretty significant part in Robert Rodriguez's career because it is a mainstream hit.
Yeah.
And it does kind of get him in with a series of filmmakers and into a relationship with Miramax and ultimately Quentin Tarantino, where they will then go on to produce a lot of movies as kind of a creative collective after this.
Yeah.
At one point, the principal suggests saving money by reusing the set from Our Town to do Guys and Dolls. The joke being that typically Our Town has no set.
That's very funny.
Now, the principal, I think, played incredibly well by Bebe Newberg, but Gillian Anderson was originally considered for the role of the principal. That would have also been amazing.
Also would have done great. Yeah. I like the lady who plays her in this movie too. She's great, but Gillian Anderson is stellar.
Worm Team 1, almost Sarah Michelle Gellar, also turned down the role along with Charisma Carpenter, who she worked on in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Wild. Okay, yeah.
During a retrospective interview for H2O, Halloween H2O, we have not gotten to that one yet. We will get there eventually. Josh Hartnett acknowledged that his controversial hairstyle that can be seen in both this and Halloween H2O, both productions hated it, but Josh Hartnett intentionally kept cutting his own hair and messing it up to look more like an authentic teen. This led to fights with the producers and the director of Halloween H2O, who wanted him fired. Ultimately, that did not occur, and he finished both films.
Love it. Nice. It's good to know that it looks like he cut his own hair because he, in fact, cut his own hair.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Now, this is kind of an interesting one. So many of the kids' costumes are Tommy Hilfiger clothes.
Yes.
They actually filmed a product placement commercial for it, but specifically, there's kind of a weird thing where there's an extra character in the Tommy Hilfiger commercials because there are several scenes with an additional character in the movie named Venus, played by Kadada Jones, that were in TV previews for the film and the Tommy Hilfiger commercials, but ultimately cut from the film entirely. Like her character is just cut out.
Wow. Okay.
However, she is visible in the scene in the theatrical version, standing next to Usher's character, Gabe, in Mr. Furlong's science class when they're looking at the new species in the aquarium. Now, Jessica Alba also auditioned for Delilah, but didn't get it. Principal Drake gets her name from the Drake equation, which is used to estimate how much intelligent life there is in the universe. The naming Jon Stewart's character Mr. Furlong is a reference to Edward Furlong for T2.
I figured because the T2 Terminator is in this movie. Like, yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, at the start of the movie, around 7 minutes in the scene where he's at the very end of the hallway, Robert Patrick is, and then is running towards Principal Drake, they cut it so that it is a shot-for-shot mirroring of a scene in T2 where the T-1000 is chasing the Connors and the T-800 down the long hallway while they wait for an elevator to open. And it is shot for shot, which is pretty great.
That is awesome. That doesn't surprise me that Robert Rodriguez would do stuff like that because he does that kind of stuff in in a lot of his movies. Him and Quentin Tarantino work in little homages to things they love often. And I like that.
Yep. I'll end on this one because there are tons of fun facts. There's a lot of famous people in this movie. You can read about them.
Yeah.
But this one just particularly tickles me. At around 36 minutes, Christopher McDonald's character wishes Robert Patrick's character, the coach, good luck with the football game and does the shooters with his hand, which are an homage to his famous Shooter McGavin character
of course,
from the film Happy Gilmore. It was purposeful.
If you actually pause in the scene where he's ransacking Elijah Wood's room, one of the things he grabs and throws out of the room is a wooden hand. No, I'm just joking. But how awesome would that have been if Chubbs' hand was in Elijah Wood's room in this movie?
Or the gator. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for The Faculty or The Feelers in 1998?
In 1998, I think they probably spent about $12 million on this.
You were so close. It was $15 million. Very well done.
Thank you.
If you adjust that for inflation, that's it's almost $29 million. It's $28.9 million today.
That's what you would spend on this today, I think, if you were to make something comparable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did great. Or I think they did great with that budget. But also Robert Rodriguez literally sold his body to science to fund his first movies. That man knows how to stretch a budget.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm not surprised he did it for 15. Anyway, it came out on Christmas Day, 1998.
Questionable. I think you got to bring this out in September, but fine, whatever.
I mean, yeah, it does feel like a back to school sort of spooky movie, which is every time we've done it on the podcast, it's been in September. Anyway, this movie was 5th the week it came out. It was beat by Patch Adams was number 1 that week. Stepmom was number 2. A terrible movie about a man destroying a lady's small business. You've Got Mail was number 3. The Prince of Egypt was number 4. And The Faculty was number 5. What do you think it brought in its opening weekend, the weekend of Christmas, 1998?
I'm going to say $10 million.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So this actually brought in its opening weekend, $11.6 million, Paige. You were right.
Damn, I am on a fucking roll today.
Yeah, you crushed it. Yeah, $11.6 million in its opening weekend. And it is you're not wrong, Paige. Up through the 7th ranked movie, all from 7 to 1 were above $10 million that weekend.
Damn.
It's just a big weekend for movies. I mean, I've seen a ton of movies that weekend. On Christmas, you're with your family. You don't want to talk to them. You go to a movie. It's great. Anyway, it was in theaters for a total of 20 weeks. So from December 25th until May of 1999, it was in the top 10 for its first 3 weeks, but was never again in the top 10. But what do you think it brought in worldwide at the box office, Paige?
I think worldwide, this brings in about 45.
Paige, it was $40.2 million. That's a really good guess. Yeah, really good guess. $40.2 million. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's going to bring that total up to $77.7 million today. And of course, people have paid to rent it, paid to buy it on VHS and DVD. People are paying to stream it. This movie made a shitload of money for Miramax and continues to, I'm sure. But that is your box office page. Do you want to hit them with that scary scale?
Our scary scale is a scale from 1 to 10 of how scary we found the movie today. 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I almost flipped those. Todd, what are you giving this movie?
I'm definitely going to give it a 2. It was probably higher the first time I saw it because the scares were new and scared me. But it's not super scary.
I am also going to give this a 2. The body horror particularly squicks me out in this one a little bit. And that's your scary skill.
Yeah, so this week, the listeners made us watch The Faculty. Paige, what is our new theme for October, and what are you making us watch as we start that new theme?
As we typically do, is sequel month.
Yeah.
Woo! Our next movie is Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. It's been a while since we've done a Nightmare on Elm Street.
It has been a while. I honestly can't wait. I think, was the last one Dream Child we did?
I believe the last one was Dream Child. Yes, because Dream Child is, I think, 5, and I think this is 6. Those are always fucking bonkers episodes, so I'm excited for that.
I'm looking forward to that for sure. But your homework for next week is to watch that movie and report back for that episode next week.
Hey, Todd.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any reviews for us?
You know what? I don't, but I'm happy to look them up. I'll do that right now. Let me start off with this Spotify comment, though. And this is going to be from our most recent episode, which was our The Covenant episode. And my, oh my, did we get a lot of Spotify comments on this one. But my favorite was, I think, maybe a conspiracy theory. I mean, it's Goshawk who left this comment, and they say, conspiracy theory. John Connor from Mars was sabotaged because Disney was getting ready to buy Lucasfilm and Star Wars.
I believe that. That's a conspiracy theory I will believe.
Because it's backed up with general corporate greed.
Yeah.
But if you want me to read your Apple 5-star review or Spotify comment, leave us an Apple 5-star review or Spotify comment, and I'll do just that.
That's going to be it for us, you guys, on Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys. Oh, before we end, Paige,
Yes.
I just have a quick question. Have you ever questioned the rules society imposes on you, Paige? Because we follow the teachings of Zeke, the outsider god, who teaches us to rebel against conformity and embrace intelligence. Come on, baby.
The one SEAL team.
He's the defender of the weak, Paige. I literally am just like over here rewriting like the Lord's Prayer to like Zeke's prayer. Like, our Zeke who walks in the fringe, hallowed be thy rebellion.
There you go.
Thy knowledge come, thy will be done on earth as in the mitzvahs of heaven. Anyway, I'm just being an idiot. We should end the episode and go to bed. Bye!